Hey everybody, this is Lynn. I'm coming back to you today, Thursday, March 28th, 2024. Yesterday when I made my video while I wasn't feeling well, I didn't know what day it was. Thought it was the 27th or the 28th. Apparently yesterday was the 27th, so today is officially the 28th. But anyways, I did say that I would come back and share how I was doing. And, once I recovered, I hate putting something out there while I'm not feeling well and then leave you hanging. But I appreciate so much the comments. And so many of you sent me some really encouraging comments on the video. And I really appreciate that. I wanted to read a section of one of the comments. This is from Sad to Success is the username. And she says, thanks for sharing. That must have been difficult. I'm sure the last thing you felt like doing is picking up a phone and filming. Yes, it's true. For us, this is the thing I was really, felt touched by. She said, for us, it is so important to see the good, the bad, and the ugly along the way to healing. It's so reassuring to know that it doesn't all get better in the first 10 days for everyone else. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing it's just us it's not working for because on social it appears to be all roses for everyone else. Glad you said that. Thank you so much for that. And you're so right. It is true that sometimes it does look like it's all uphill. That is the farthest from the truth. We have good days and bad days. And the trajectory is uphill, but it does have its hills and valleys. And especially, when the more complicated your illnesses are, it does take a while to heal. And I'm going on 10 months now. But I'm dealing with an immune system disease that I've had my whole life. I mean, even though I just got diagnosed in 2022, it's just because that's how long it took to get a diagnosis. And prior to, maybe 10, 12 years ago, there wasn't even a name for what I had. And then hereditary alpha tryptophanemia, my other condition, there wasn't a name for that until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So both of them I've had my whole life. But it's not going to just all of a sudden be better. It takes time. And I'm still learning to navigate all the ins and outs of what I can expose myself to, what I can eat, what I can't. And if you've watched my video about histamine and eating a low histamine carnivore diet, you've heard me talk about that histamine bucket. And people with allergies, people with histamine intolerance, people like myself with mast cell disease, we all have a histamine bucket. So imagine it like a little beach bucket or a garden bucket. And each of our buckets are different sizes. And it's very common when you're dealing with food reactions to be so confusing because you're fine, and then you're not. And it's like, wait a minute, I was okay with that before. And all of a sudden now I'm reacting to it. It's because the bucket, every time you have something that's higher histamine, it starts to fill that bucket up. And the symptoms are, you're fine until the bucket overflows, but that one last drop, the bucket overflows, that's when you start having symptoms. So it can be really confusing. It's like, oh, great, no problem, I can eat this. And so you eat it, and then you eat it again, and then you eat it again. And depending on the size of your histamine bucket, it takes more or less time before you suddenly have a reaction. So I think that with me having a reaction yesterday after going several months without one was multifaceted. I know I talked a lot about coffee. In the moment, I was still kind of fuzzy with regard to my brain. It was getting better by the time I filmed the video, but I was still a little fuzzy. But I had completely forgotten at the time that I mentioned in my Monday weigh-in video that I was doing a trial off of one of my mast cell medications. And I was kind of on the fence at that point as to how the trial was going because I was noticing a tiny little bit of throat swelling. And I mentioned that I was going to continue the trial. Well, what I didn't say yesterday was that later Monday I was feeling it even more. So I started back on the medication. So I had been 4 days off of it, and then by the time yesterday happened, I had 2 doses. So I don't know if it had built back up to where it needs to be in my system or not. I should be super familiar with all the pharmacology of that medication, but it's not that easy to find because it is sold as an eye drop in the US. It is not sold in a capsule. I have to get it compounded. And there really isn't a whole lot of research using the medication. It's called ketotifen. There's not a lot of research using that medication for anything other than an eye drop. And so, pharmacology is basically, or pharmacokinetics is basically, how does it work in the body? You hear about things like a half-life, you hear about medications, whether it's metabolized in the liver, or the kidneys, or, and how long does it take before, it's excreted out of your body? How long does it take before it builds up to therapeutic dosage in your body? All of that is known for most of the medications we take. But it's a little bit different when you have something like this, where the compounding pharmacy takes the powder that is usually dissolved into an eye drop to make an eye drop, and instead they put that powder in a capsule, and I swallow it. So there's just not really enough known about how it works. So otherwise, I would probably be more familiar with how long does it take to kick in, how long does it take, to wear off. I don't know. So anyways, after that long little diatribe there, it's like the bottom line is there's not a whole lot of information out there about this medication. So I can't say whether or not being off of it for 4 days was a contributing factor to me having an issue yesterday. I did notice, and I think the reason why I actually decided to go back on it Monday night is that I started itching like crazy. And it had been quite a while since I'd had any issues with itching. And, when I made my video, I was on the fence, but when the itching started, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm back on the medication. So anyways, I don't know if it was the medication in combination of the coffee, maybe hitting the threshold of my histamine bucket overflowing. But basically I did continue to lay down after I made the video. I continued to stay laying down for probably another 30 minutes or so. My daughter was over with her fiance and her matron of honor for her wedding, and they were working on stuff for the wedding, and I was just not feeling up. Usually I'd be there and I'd be working with them, and I just wasn't feeling up to it. And by the time I got up, her friend had left, but her and her fiance were still there. So I came and, I sat on the couch. We have a couch that reclines. And so I sat on the couch, reclined myself to kind of just be there with them. And I was so tired. And that's the thing with these reactions. They're exhausting. And usually after I have one, I have to sleep. And so I did, I think, kind of doze off. I was just barely groggy, really struggling to keep my eyes open. So I did rest, and by the evening, I was feeling a lot better. And today, I'm feeling a lot better. I did not have coffee this morning, so we're just going to wait and see how things go. And I don't think I'm ever going to say that I'm never going to have coffee. I love coffee, and I really do enjoy having my coffee in the morning. But I think I'm probably going to have to let that histamine bucket drain, and I'm going to have to be very careful. One of you mentioned that, the stress from my cousin dying and the trip to Texas and could have been a contributing factor. And that is true, because I know very often I may feel okay during something stressful, or maybe even a little bit afterwards. Sometimes the effect can be delayed. And that makes it even harder a lot of times to determine cause and effect when it comes to these things, because, there is a delay. Even with foods, you may be fine with a food, but then 3 days later you're having symptoms. It's not always immediate. So that makes it kind of difficult to figure out what the issue is. But I wanted to just let you guys know I am doing better. I'm feeling good today. Didn't mess up my rosacea. My rosacea seems to be doing well. And one other thing is that it kind of kicked IBS in just a little bit. Not a ton, but just a little bit. I did have a little bit of abdominal cramping, a little bit of an urgent bowel movement. And that is another pretty typical thing that happens when I have a mast cell reaction, because there's a ton of mast cells in the gut, and it does tend to kick irritable bowel syndrome in. But it was mild. I've had severe cases of IBS. This one was very mild. So I'm very grateful that it was as mild as it was. I'm glad I went, and I had 2 doses of the ketotifen in my system already. And I mentioned I chose to take Ativan instead of my usual rescue meds. I'm glad that I did. I feel like that was the right decision. Doesn't mean I'm going to use that next time. Like I said, I rarely use that, but I am very glad that I did use it. I do notice a little bit of a difference in the types of symptoms that the Ativan addresses quickly versus my other rescue medications. With my other rescue medications, the throat swelling, it really tackles that quickly. Even the tachycardia, it tackles really quickly. And when you're dealing with tachycardia, you don't want Ativan that kicks in 20 minutes later. You want the rapid dissolve chewable medicines that are going to kick in very quickly. And that's what my Pepcid and my rapid dissolve Claritin do. They kick in very fast. And so throat swelling, heart palpitations, tachycardia, yes, I'm going to take the chewable, the rapid dissolve tablet. But the Ativan does take a little bit longer, and I really did feel that I could, that it would have been better for the symptoms I was having yesterday. Okay, I think that's it. So I just wanted to give everybody an update. Again, thank you. I'm not quite caught up on responding to your comments. I do see them and I appreciate them, and I work on getting a response to all of you, and appreciate your support so much. And hang in there. I mean, you guys are going to have ups and downs too, and don't be discouraged. Just reach out to the community if there's something going on that you're confused about. We all get there. It doesn't seem like, it seems like there's always something that's going to happen that doesn't make sense initially. So have a community, reach out. It's very likely that someone else has gone through the same thing you're going through and has some advice for you. So anyways, that's it for today. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.